A sure sign that a high-level Trump staffer is living up to the president's MAGA pledge? Well, that he or she is attacked by the same media outlets that sold Russia collusion and hyped lawfare, all in their fanatical bid to get rid of Trump. Well, enter the president's point person on immigration, Stephen Miller. NBC is now after him, so typical, trying to divide Trump from his stalwarts. And remember, he's been with Trump since day one and has been a fearless defender of the MAGA agenda, and especially of the need for border enforcement and interior enforcement to really fulfill the Trump agenda. And that makes him persona non grata. Now, since Inauguration Day, Miller has had carte blanche on immigration policy in his dual role as Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor. His insistence that ICE make 3,000 arrests, writes NBC, per day kick-started a scramble from field offices to meet his demand. Well, just so you understand this, what they're saying is, well, since border encounters have plummeted, that means ICE raids and arrests are, a must, and they should be anyway. Of course, I mean, you have to arrest people in the interior part of the country. That's what Trump promised, and that's what his most loyal supporters voted for. So the message is, go home, you can reapply, and we'll consider your application later. Plus, what they're really going after Miller for is that he wants 3,000 illegals a day deported. But we did the math at the Angle. That is an extremely modest number. I think it's way too low, in fact. The number needs to more than double to about 7,500 per day, because between January 20th and today, the Trump team has deported about 207,000 individuals from the United States. That's not nothing. That's a good number. But assuming the modest number of 10 million illegals allowed in during Biden, that means there are 9,793,000 more who need to go home. So Miller's 3,000 a day target is way too lenient, because it will leave more than 5 million Biden illegals still in the United States, plus the tens of millions, of course, who came in before Biden and the others who are gotaways. Again, Americans want mass deportation, period. Unscrupulous employers who hire illegals, they shouldn't be in business, because hiring illegals is not America first. Of course, if they could, the Open Borders press wouldn't report any of the illegal immigrant crime or Trump's border success. Check out what MSNBC polled when Pete Hegseth was testifying on Capitol Hill.
CBP released 0 illegals into the U.S. last month, down from 62,000 released into the interior.
Secretary of Defense Hegseth talking about the Pentagon's budget there on the right side of your screen. On the left, there's President Trump. He just stepped out of the White House, constructing some very towering flags on the north and south lawns.
Oh, yeah. Well, they want to talk over Pete Hegseth, because going from 62,000 released by the Biden people to 0 in a month. Wow. Joining us to discuss the truth about these numbers, Ron Vitiello, Senior Advisor for Customs and Border Protection and former acting ICE Director. Ron, again, in our calculations, we're not even including the gotaways, which are kind of charitably put at about 2 or 3 million people who came across the border and weren't even apprehended. But poll after poll is showing that there is massive support for mass deportations, which means Trump was right from the outset here.
100%. And just let me say, Laura, isn't it refreshing that we're talking about 0 releases at the border and record low numbers of people trying to cross the border illegally? The help that we've gotten from DOD, the Department of Justice, the front line, all working to make sure that we've stopped the chaos and nonsense at the border, and now can advance on the idea of the largest deportation effort ever. It's a refreshing opportunity to talk to you about how well the front line is done with the leadership of the president and Secretary Noem at the department, making sure that the tools that are available, the laws that are on the books, are being enforced in a way I've never seen before in my almost 40 years of being involved in this work.
And in contrary to the malcontent thugs in the street who are burning things up and trying to, intimidate people away from enforcement, That is what the people want. So for NBC to kind of, throw shade at Miller for saying 3,000, I saw that number 3,000 a day, and I thought, why is it so low? It's got to be at least double that. Do you agree, given who's in this country?
Well, I think you have to think about what the capacities are, right? We're working on the Trump agenda and Donald Trump priorities, masterclass interagency activity directed by Stephen Miller, but we're still using the funds and the resources that were developed in a Joe Biden budget, right? We're on a continuing resolution, and we're forced to use the money that Congress gives us in that last set of priorities, even though we're working on the president's bold agenda to make the streets safe, make the border more secure, and get rid of these criminals that are all over the United States.
Yeah, and that interior enforcement is important for sending a message. A lot of people will go home if they thought they're going to be deported and have no chance of coming back. By the way, we learned that Tren de Aragua, there were a lot of Democrats who kind of dismissed the Tren de Aragua hype that they called it. It appears that gang has reemerged in Colorado. An armed crew of 9 suspected TDA gang members were caught on camera wreaking havoc at this apartment complex earlier this month, and an incident Aurora police are calling very reminiscent of the violence previously incited in the area by that same Venezuelan gang. Ron, again, I thought it wasn't a big deal, but looks like you still got your work cut out for you to remove these people from the United States with these activist judges trying to stop the agenda every step of the way.
100%. There's still a lot to do, both in the interior, at the border. We have to sustain the gains that are made. And it's only a couple of apartment complexes. But yes, the threats from the hundreds of thousands of Chinese, the hundreds of thousands of people from Venezuela, and all the other countries that came into the 4 years of Biden. Much more needs to be done, but we're on our way to seeing success in both the border environment and as well as in the interior. It must be done. These are laws that are on the books to be enforced, and it's designed to meet the priorities of the president to make America safe again.
And our country will be changed forever, and not for the better, if these laws aren't enforced. Ron, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.